Hi, everyone, and welcome to Fan Commentary on Green with Evil Part 4. Now, it might be surprising to a lot of you is that I really think Part 4 is the best part out of the five-part saga. You think I would like Part 5 the most because it introduces Dragon Zord and it's the final wrap-up, Tommy becomes the good guy of the team. This has so many cool factors into it. Zordon almost comes back. Green Ranger is actually used really well. Rita's plan comes into play. Goldar or Scorpina are used very well. The Rangers get screwed out of morphing, which is, different than most other episodes. There's so many different factors, and of course, Bulk and Skull are actually a part of the episode instead of, being just like an afterthought in the first three parts, which is why I think it's the best episode. It just uses every little element they can use. When we begin, these scenes are censored in the Disney slash reversioned episodes. Now, if you paid attention in the previous episode, there was a power drain. It's because Zordon is trying to be located, so the computer's using all this power. So when they morph, they tax the entire grid system, which is shorts everything out. Now, when the morphers short in the original episodes, before they cut them down and then streamline the episodes and understood how to get a good flow of the show, they actually shot morph sequences where they held them in place, kind of like the original version of the pilot, because there's some behind the scenes photos from various episodes where we saw them holding the morphers out, and they were not from this episode, they were from other episodes. Now, the this is one of the early times where MMPR actually takes the original story of the Jew Ranger episode, because the plan in the Jew Ranger episode is to cause a solar eclipse in order for Daijujin to be, lose power. That's the same inside Jew Ranger. For the most part, MMPR does use it, but it kind of ignores this trap a little bit. And the difference in the original episode is that the Jew Rangers knew of the plan. They knew that if she creates the solar eclipse, they won't have power. That's the reason why Rita went down personally. Now, the thing that everyone will complain about, though, is that why doesn't Rita just keep doing this? This is an obvious thing that they can keep doing. There's no really any explanation of why she can't just keep, doing a solar eclipse to keep screwing with them as they do a Megazord fight. It's just forgotten about after this episode. Now, this was mainly put in because they had to bridge certain things here and there before they found out the plan, and then later on they find out the plan, and that's the reason why the Rangers don't call the Zords right away, which you think in MMPR they morph here and then call the Zords, but no, they actually attack Scorpina on the rooftop, and that's why Goldar is attacking the city. So whenever you see this footage, Now you'll understand that in Jew Ranger, they're egging them on to call Daijujin out in order to enact the plan. That's why they're doing so many things. That's why Bandora slash Rita actually comes down to the planet. This is why I love this episode mostly, is because Green Ranger still had something really good to do. Then we have this bit with Bulk and Skull because, I think this is where I actually fell in love with the characters. Like I said before, I didn't really like Bulk and Skull originally in the show. The first, 14 odd episodes before the Green with Evil saga, I thought they were annoying. They were in the way of the story. And I understood why they wanted them there because they were comedy relief. But this is where they actually, did something for the episode. Although I always complain, when does the juice bar have a bus? This has never come into play before or ever since. If you pay attention, the bus is not entirely accurate to whatever bus they were using in the Japanese footage, especially with the Japanese language on the sides. In the original Jew Ranger episode, there was really no one important. It was just civilians. There was no connection to the Jew Rangers, really. So it was actually an improvement in the MMPR episode. And it kind of shows how they do, follow the Rangers. They know their lives. They know who hangs around with them. So it's kind of creepy in that sense. Now, in the original episode as well, when they go to the beach, the Jew Rangers actually power down and are actually trying to talk to Bandora and everyone. And that's the reason why one of the rare times we actually get US Ranger suits outside of a set. There was literally no other way around to edit the footage, so it was the first time they were forced to, since the pilot, to use the entire PR team and shoot new material, which unfortunately shows in the early days because when they first did the Rangers, they didn't have anyone who could act in the suit because when you act in a Power Ranger costume, you have to overact, meaning you have to do bigger gestures. You have to move your head because if you talk and you don't move your head, you really don't know like who's talking underneath the helmet. So they didn't do it this often in the show at the time, so they overacted, which is why if you pay attention to Trini, she's just doing all these really crazy like, oh no. It always bugged me. And this is what makes the show too cheesy. This is what always makes like parents like go, oh my god, kids like this. It's just those things. So luckily over time, especially like once we reached season 2, they got it down and they were on par with what Japan does in their material. If you look closely, Rita's staff in the US footage is really not good. It's way too thick. If you look closely, they cut out the sword from the Japanese footage, and it's not really done well. I don't really like this angle because you can easily see the breathe holes in that. I never understood why they let that go. They should have just shot it in at a different way so it wasn't so close to him. And in later versions of the suit, U.S. suit, even Japanese suit, they don't have those breathe holes. I do like that the command center has a security feature, but unfortunately, this thing gets forgotten about when it could have been used in a few episodes. I think particularly when Lord Zed first entered the command center in that episode, they could have tried using this trap. So whether they actually surrendered and gave up their coins, or whether they actually killed Bulk and Skull, or they got the Zords, they would have won no matter what. This is why I love Part 4 too. It's because no matter which way the plan went, one way or another, they were going to fail. They were going to lose their powers, they were going to lose the Zords. This is what I miss from MMPR when the villains worked all together. This is what they could accomplish, which is what makes a lot of the episodes suffer because there's so many MMPR episodes, like 150 episodes, and a good chunk of them, unfortunately, is whenever they fail so many times. If they did more episodes where the villains showed this amount of competency, success rate, you would really feel as a threat, and you would enjoy them even more. And that's the problem balance between being a failure of a villain but also being a threat, because you have to it's just so hard to figure out, like, where do you draw the line, like how good or how bad can you go. Which is where unfortunately characters like Goldar slowly suffered. I never liked Scorpina's monster form. I thought it was like overly ridiculous because it's just, I don't know. In one way, I wish they still used the original actress to do this, the actual stunts with the Megazord. But again, she's not a stunt performer. She wouldn't really know how to do it that well. So I understand why they did it. On the other hand, later on, when the Green Ranger becomes big, it doesn't even work for me either. But I do like this, act. It's like the only way to beat Megazord is to double and later on triple team him in order to defeat him. That's how much power the Rangers have. Not only that, they're losing power at the same time. There's so many problems that they're dealing with. It just shows you how much power Megazord has, which again, in Ranger, it was a god, so that's the reason why there's so many things that they have to do. But even when Daijujin is a god, it still works under mechanical rules and limits. Barza built Megazord in some capacity, but then the spirit of Daijujin's god was probably passed down and then inhabited the mechanical part, but it still has to obey of the limitations of what the technology has. It wasn't fully spiritual, so you still had these limitations. I also thought with part four, it uses evil Green Ranger very well. You want to see him more evil, be mean and do all these crazy things, which, Return of the Green Ranger and all those other things where the evil version came back, it showed it off more. But in this saga, he really wasn't evil all that much often. Now, I have said in the past, I never cared for this type of fight because while Goldar and other monsters work fine when they're fighting Megazord, when you see the actual, like a Ranger fight Megazord, I don't know, for me, it breaks my suspension of disbelief because we know how big Green Ranger is in real life, and then you could just immediately picture Daijujin being the exact same size. But I'm glad they didn't do it anymore after this. I never cared for this. I'd rather have been in Dragonzord, but they wanted to save him for that final episode, so they couldn't introduce the Dragonzord at the time. Now, this is another thing that I also love about MMPR. The reason why I love the Dino Zords, especially the Dino Zords, I have a connection, of course, to the Ninja Zords and the Thunder Zords. But when I was a kid, I loved these Zords. It's not even a fact that they were dinosaurs and Jurassic Park came out and that cool fact. No, it was because MMPR did things like this, where we felt sorry for it. They blew them up. Now, in the Jew Ranger episode, they're not really melting away because remember, when they're summoned, they come from various locations, especially Tyrannosaurus and Pterodactyl. Fire doesn't bother them, so the other Zords would not be bothered either. What's happening is they're being sealed away. So technically they're not destroyed, but they're lost. When the Zords are gone, you lose a piece of the Rangers and you feel sad because you really care about them as, like if it was your friend or pet. The later PR seasons, a lot of times they don't really care about the Zords more than being a toy gimmick. If you use them well, and you'll have emotional connection, so when they're lost, you'll care about them more. And I think that's when they work best. This is why Jason is also the leader too, because he doesn't quit. For a lot of 7-year olds, this was a really big moment when the Green Ranger was finally revealed to everyone, but not only everyone, Kimberly specifically, because now she understands what was going on through those 3 episodes. Again, like I said, I wasn't here when these originally aired. I saw them in reruns, but it was still a strong moment for myself as well.